Hi YouTube, it's Frances here. Thank you for coming back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I bid thee welcome. There is a subscribe button below if you would like to help support this channel by subscribing, and also a bell to be notified as to when I upload more content. I'm coming to you from Ghana country, and as such, I acknowledge the Ghana people of the Adelaide Plains as being the traditional custodians of this land. So if you move in magical, esoteric, witchcraft circles, you may have come across the hashtag occultea. It is certainly coming up on my logarithms on YouTube, despite how I'm trying to ignore it. And I've recently now received a couple of messages from people saying, hey, why don't you get on board? Well, grudgingly, because I think this has already been circulating for a couple of weeks, about a month now. I don't personally know the three people, Ella Harrison, Joanna, the Polish witch, and the redheaded witch. I don't know them, don't know their work, don't follow them, don't really know the questions that they've been asking, except for briefly watching a few YouTube videos of people that I do come across and follow. And yeah, but okay, I don't know if I've got the whole grasp of this. I seem to understand it's around authenticity and content creators on social media platforms. Now, I don't consider myself to be a content creator. That's not my goal anyhow. Even in this medium, it's very basic. What you see is what you get, sort of thing. But I thought I might be able to share some insights that may be circulating around in sort of the wider sphere of this discussion. And in doing so, especially from an older person's perspective, maybe call this old person's look at occultea or social media or something. So this is what this video is going to be about. So you may or may not find it of interest. So if you've come to my channel via the hashtag occultea, hello and welcome. As I mentioned in my introduction, my name is Frances. I live in Australia. We're at the end of the world. This is another thing that this might be an American thing, I don't know. But with social media, sort of got sticky fingers all around the world, it will sort of come into our circles anyway. So I think we start off with introductions about ourselves. I am an initiate of a contemporary witchcraft tradition. I have been interested in witchcraft, magic, Bala, high magic, esoteric sciences, metaphysics. I see all these various threads sort of all blending together. Been interested in all these things since the 80s, which makes me old. Not necessarily practicing them since then, but have been interested. That's when they started coming to my peripheral vision. I recall back in 86, maybe 89, somewhere around then, actually coming across in the newspaper, or maybe it was a magazine, can't remember, but there was this advertisement for someone teaching witchcraft classes, and I recall writing to them. Now, I can't remember who they were. I don't think I ever received a response because I was actually living in New Zealand at the time, and shortly after or about a year after, I moved a few times and moved to Australia. But all I can remember is that they were in the South Island, and their group was something in the Rose, or the Rose something. The name or the word Rose was in their title. When I arrived in Adelaide, South Australia, it was like there was this metaphysical boom. I got involved with the Theosophical Society. They were, I was going to say importing, but they were bringing in speakers from all around the world. And I remember seeing or listening to Dr. Douglas Baker. He did esoteric astrology, very interesting bloke. I was up to my eyeballs with tarot classes and auras and chakra readings. Everybody's running around doing spirit guide work, and everybody's spirit guides were, strangely enough, Native American. I got involved with adult learning center where I studied Celtic mythology and did a lot of Celtic classes. That was before Celtic isms automatically meant Druidry. The two were very separate. In fact, I don't think I've even heard of Druidry at that stage. I may have come across a book. One of my favorite bookshops, which was from the Theosophical Society, was in one of my first magical books, which one that I still have today and I still recommend it, is from Vivian Crowley, her book Wicca, Old Religion for the New Age. Now, that was the title of my book. It was a black cover. These days, I think it's been rebadged. I think it has sort of a cerise cover, and I think it's for an old religion for a new millennium. So that was one of my very first books, and I recall reading it in my lunch break at work amongst more people, much to their horror. I also recall almost a scene out of a movie of walking around my neighborhood one day and coming across the shop that had in the window a little indiscreet sign offering courses in ceremonial magic. Not knowing anything about ceremonial magic, naturally I signed up. And that sort of led me on the path to rack and ruin, so to speak, into the world of the occult, into high magic, Kabbalah, and witchcraft. Now, the form of witchcraft that I sort of stepped into today, I would term as contemporary witchcraft. There is a question mark as to whether my initiation that followed a number of years later was actually bona fide lineage or not, but we're led to believe it was. Contrary to what some people, other individuals in the wider community thought of it when I came out, so to speak. So all of this was happening before computers. My Celtic studies took me to England, where I came across another book. I actually rang her as well, the author of that book. She was in London, and she put me in touch with a group in Cardiff, where I was living, and circled with them for a bit. And it was a lot of writing letters. That's what we did. We wrote letters. We put either return postage stamps on them to get a reply back, phone numbers, and we did a lot of the whole slog. It's what you did when you were a seeker. Eventually I came back to Australia, caught up with my old group again, went through the process of initiation, got my first computer, I think around about 97, 98, so I was still a bit late. And there were first, now I don't know if it was live journal, but there were these sort of like tag, where you sort of emails, but sort of tag notice boards that you can put things on. And then came Yahoo groups, and Yahoo, I think Gmail then Google tried to tag them over, and then they just sort of disappeared, and Facebook and MySpace. Do we talk about MySpace these days? Yeah, so I didn't get into the whole AOL. I didn't get into those sort of discussions because that was before when I got a computer, but I was definitely around with the Yahoo groups. And a lot of it was finding community, connecting with people, and also coming across experts who knew more than what I did, allegedly, and putting in their 2 cents worth in relation to the authenticity of my initiation, even if they weren't there. But that's another rabbit hole to fall down. So, and I sort of bring all that up because part of this discussion about authenticity, content creators, the fallibility of seekers, etc., sort of comes to mind, or my mind, as to the old age discussions we have about gatekeeping, which witch is which, whose witchcraft is more witchcraft. I do things differently, so I don't recognize your witchcraft. So your collection of skulls or crystals is not witchcraft, because mine, I have a collection over here which is completely different. And I wonder if this is probably not where the instigators, Ella, Joanna, and Leah, direction that they're coming into, but because I haven't spent the time going through the hour-long discussions, of my life. But I'm seeing the logarithms coming up, especially on YouTube, and this is one of the reasons why I sort of prompted, poked, encouraged to do this. I'm not on TikTok. I'm on other platforms like Instagram very begrudgingly, because trying to promote my books. I'm on, probably waste too much time on Facebook, and any content like this, and the newsletter that I put out, it's very time consuming. I've got other things to do. I work, I drink tea. I've got a garden that is running rampant and really needs attention. I've got altars that need dusting. I've got books that need reading, books that need writing. I've got a house that needs cleaning. I've got stuff to do. I can't spend all this time running around on social media wondering. However, having said that, I do think that the concerns raised are valid. However, they're not new ones. And I think this is what points out. And I think, I'm just going to jump around a bit here. Jack Kanak, sorry, Jack, I don't know how to pronounce your surname properly. No, you say it in your videos. He mentioned algorithms. And this is one of the door cards or prompts for me, was algorithms. And people tend to forget that social media is driven by algorithms. I know in the other media, the mainstream media these days, there's this big discussion, especially from the US, about TikTok and how it's the Chinese government's spy music vehicle. Well, we know that TikTok has been connected, invented, has links to China since its conception. Why is everybody getting excited over it now? There's usually alternative motives behind things. This whole looking at someone's content and ascertaining whether they are authentic or not, I think it's a double-edged sword. And I don't want to cast shade on anyone, but just because you don't know someone doesn't necessarily mean you don't know their background. I'm quite sure if you've come to my channel via this hashtag, you don't know who the hell I am. I've got some books here. I could have just copied and pasted the information in those books. You don't know anything about me. What's quite interesting, this book here, which has been out since 2012, well, when I first published it, 2012, largely because there was, and there still is, very little information about working the Sabbaths, seasonal festivals in the Southern Hemisphere. I will go on Facebook pages and go into online groups that are specifically geared for Southern Hemisphere practitioners. And people still don't know my book. People still are recommending books from Northern Hemisphere people. I mean, my book, I personally think it's dated. Each time you work with the season, you learn something completely new. But I'm quite sure the majority of people watching this do not know who the hell I am. Do not know that I have put out 8 books. It's 8 books. These 3 books are actually through a publisher. These 2 books here are self-published. Oh, that's a nasty word in some circles as well. I do my thing. I don't have time to be on social media. I try and promote myself. Obviously, I suck really badly at PR. I'm not jizzy. I'm old. This is what I do. I work with a computer. My attention span on computers. I have to be in the right frame of mind because it's a big effort. I would rather be reading a book. Anyway, so just because you don't know somebody doesn't mean that they aren't experienced. I've been doing shit since the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. And I'm talking about serious shit, not just shoving tentacles in a jar, and I'm being very flippant there. And that's my personality. I call a spade a spade. What you see is what you get. You might be lucky that grey hair. I might put some makeup on, but that's about much. And I might dye my hair. That's about as much enhancement as I do. My content on my channel are all me. I have multiple threads in my life. Instagram has largely been on my recent trip that I took with my dad. Fantastic. We went to Antarctica. It was an amazing place. I also try and remember to post some vlogs, some information about my books, which something you can't get outside certain countries or areas. Or we can buy them on Amazon, but people don't like buying things on Amazon these days because it's a monopoly. I do my own stuff. Yes, I'm initiated into a tradition. When I first came out, I was shot down in flames by people who, instead of asking questions, were criticizing me. And that's why I sort of, I do my own thing. My style of witchcraft is sensational. I believe it's religious. I believe in gods. I also believe that if I wasn't authentic in my path, I wouldn't be here. Who the here is. Witch wars and people getting upset as to which witch is the right witch and all the wrong witch and false witches is not new. I don't know if people have picked up on this, I've mentioned this, but back in the day, and the witchcraft laws were repealed in England, it was at 54, Gardner, Jill Gardner, those who don't know who Jill Gardner is, first went public and called himself a witch. He got shot down in flames. He got people coming out of the woodwork saying, well, your witchcraft is not my witchcraft, so you're not a witch. Charles Cadell, Robert Cochrane, I don't know if Sybil Leek criticised Gardner. She may have. And Doreen Valente did later on when Gardner fell out. Then she went and joined Cochrane and fell out with him. And I think she went off and joined somebody else. She fell out with him. And she did have sort of an esoteric occult background. So she sort of knew some things as well. And then there's the whole sort of George Pinkengill saga and the Nine Coven. Even more in more recent times, Alexander's, people didn't like him, criticized him left, right, center, including the Gardnerians. So people's interpretation of witchcraft can be shaped through the lens you're looking at. And these days, to be perfectly honest, I look at what's on social media as witchcraft, and I sit there and scratch my head and go, how, why? It could be a generational thing, an interpretation thing, changing of words, or it could be, again, another trend that we have seen in the whole 30 odd years that I've been doing this. And I know there's people there who have been doing this stuff longer than me. At first, there were catch-all words. First, it was paganism. Everybody was a pagan. Pagan was a lovely catch-all word. I did use pagan. I still use pagan. It stops questions, especially with people who really aren't interested in the differences between witch and folk witch and traditional witch and that traditional witch and traditional Wiccan and bloody. Kids don't care. They just see you as weird. So if I call myself pagan, I'm in that kind of weirdness. Call myself witch. It's like, oh, that's not weird, or not just weird. That can be dangerous. That can be vindictive. That could be stupid. You know, how many times do I get, turn someone into a toad? I'm just, yeah, yawn. Then everybody was Wiccan. Wiccan replaced paganism. Everybody was a Wiccan. This is around that time, I think I was calling myself a Wiccan. We were traditional Wiccans. I've stopped using that term for about 15 years now. I do know that other initiates into contemporary witchcraft still use it. Good for them. So be it. I have my reasons. What's projected as Wicca, well, especially at that time, did not reflect what I was doing. And then I also did a bit more research, especially into the shadows, and came up with my own conclusions and stopped using that term. These days, everything, the catch-all seems to be witchcraft. And I'm in the process of distancing myself, because sometimes there's no point of even asking why or how. What makes your witchcraft witchcraft? I don't understand a lot of what's happening out there. I don't see how it can be described as witchcraft. And I'm coming from it from my own lens, my own history, my own explorations, my own training. I see a lot of folk practices or pseudo folk practices, jumbled folk practices which have been sort of derived from various traditions and that are merged together and labeled as traditional, being rebadged as witchcraft, despite it coming from countries where the magical practitioners of that country would not themselves call their practice witchcraft. That's a whole different rabbit hole to fall down in. So it's easier for me to just go, hey, you call it witchcraft, good for you. My lens, I don't recognize it, but I'm not saying you can't use that word. I am wondering whether this is something that's sort of spawned on to the social media debate in relation to the hashtag occultea. Is our perceptions. Then one of the questions or topics was about grifters. Now, it's a very interesting word. It's not a word that you hear a lot these days. Well, I don't hear a lot these days in circles. But it's not a new word. It's sort of not a new action. I have long been aware of people purposely attempting to take advantage of others long before the internet. I remember, and it wasn't email letters, but there were chain letters back in the day where we all had to sit there and write 10 letters and send them off to 10 individuals, and hopefully, I don't know, asking them for $5, and hopefully you will get some money. We all sort of laugh over the Nigerians' email scams and things like that. I recall when I was teaching, I still do teaching, and back in the day, in some of the places, being contacted by owner of another shop who'd come across mention of my course online, like I said, back in the early days of the internet, wanting me to send them their course notes. So, excuse me, they could produce my course. Is that a form of grifting? I have fond memories of so-called students taking my course notes and doing the same thing themselves that weekend. And even today, I regularly come across people, and it's not just in the cult circles, because I come across people offering courses in various, say, alternative healing modalities, where you can be level 1 and 2 in a weekend, and the master in the following weekend, because it's all about trainer. Now, unfortunately, one of these healing modalities is Reiki. And I'm just sort of bewildered as to, especially when it comes to energetics, how you can learn all about Reiki, especially like Reiki 1, have an attunement into the symbols, have them placed in your aura to work through that energy, to gain that practice in a 3-hour or 6-hour course. Gain that experience, have that integration occur, and then the next day go on to your Reiki 2. Repeat the cycle. Next weekend become a master, so you can then teach. From what? What experience do you have? And that's the whole thing. Where there has been a drive recently, I mean, maybe this is just an Australian thing, in Train the Trainer. And this is something I have seen regularly, probably for the last 10 years, maybe a bit longer, where the emphasis isn't in building up your practice, your toolkit to practice, to share, to utilize it, but to train somebody else, because that's where the money is. Is there a similarity between how some of these energetic healing modalities are being, unfortunately, taught into witchcraft, where we're getting a focus away from the actual practice, experience, sharing the knowledge to money, all about money? My style of witchcraft isn't in the public arena. Well, it sort of is, but teachings isn't. I don't believe that's witchcraft, especially how I perceive witchcraft should be in the public arena. I don't think it's something for everyone. I don't think magic is for everyone. Magic, witchcraft, ritual, connecting in to what, especially in the lens that I look at, what these represent, what you tap into, what is opened up to you, changes you. And it's that change, just like saying going through a Reiki attunement, that you need to sit with. You need to work out. More than often, your stuff rises up. Your shadow stuff, whatever you want to call it. Something needs to be processed. And it takes time. And you don't know everything. And you can't know everything. And I've been doing this stuff for about 30 years. And I know that much, if not less. Each wheel of the year, each cycle we go around, something new manifests, something new comes into my awareness. When you walk the path, when you walk the wheel. And that's something that you can't do an online course and learn about. A lot of this is practice. It's experiential. You have to go through the motions. You can't just read a book or sign up for an hour-long course and have it all exposed to you. Techniques or the words, maybe, but again, you have to put you into it. It's like I'm of the genre where the age where we made majority of our magical tools. Or if you couldn't make tools such as a yahame or a chalice, you sourced them. And you made sure that they weren't made of plastic. They didn't need to have a pentacle because that's just a symbol. That means nothing if you don't know the deeper meaning behind it, if you weren't initiated into the mysteries. These days, and I do markets, I do reading and trying to sell some of my books. You show a pentacle on anything, and also that makes it witchcraft. Likewise, and I have to laugh because this weekend there were an increased number of young people running around, and I don't know if goth, there's another revival, been there, done that, got a whole wardrobe full of black clothing, and some of their clothing I saw over the weekend was fantastic. But they're also dripping pentacles, which I automatically thought, oh, you're a witch. But in the corner of my store where I had some witchy supplies, in particular charcoal and resin incense, They didn't know what that was for. And it could be an age thing, because I grew up, I was taught about resins, and I make my own incense, and I have that practical side of it. So when people talk about witch practice, that's what I ultimately think of as getting dirty, putting your hands in the dirt, so to speak, and making your own incense. You make your own candles, but you're rolling your own candles into the oils and into the herbs, dressing them a particular way. You don't buy ready-made stuff. You don't buy ready-made puppets. You make them yourself. You stuff them with your chosen herbs and crystals and oils, etc. I'm not saying that those people who sell ready-made stuff are grifters, but I think our whole attitude to things have changed greatly. We are very much in a commercialized society, capitalism. A lot of people are seeing witchcraft, magical practice as a trend, as a way of making a quick buck. But this is nothing new. I think too that in relation to ascertaining who's authentic or not, you need to be burnt first, unfortunately, before it sort of wakes you up, because a lot of people seem to be devoid of taking responsibility. They just want everything now, learn everything yesterday. They rush, and they are missing out on the important lessons. And I don't know if it was Buddha or my interpretation of a Buddhist saying or koan or something, but it basically said that the view from the mountain, from the top of the mountain, was not important. It was the journey that you went on to reach the top. Everybody is wanting to take the quick road to the top of the mountain. Whether they are hang gliding, hiring a helicopter, jet plane, whatever, they are wanting to get up there. No one wants to walk the path anymore. And it is through walking that path that you learn the red flags, that you learn who is a grifter or not. You learn about who's authentic. Now, just because someone's not authentic according to your vision doesn't mean that they are authentic. And this sort of circles back to me when I first heard the word about gatekeeping. Gatekeeping has its beneficial aspects to it, but it's not other people's experiences or responsibility to gatekeep a whole community. We love this word, community. Yeah. At the end of the day, I'm only responsible for me. You are only responsible for you. You can't really rely on anybody else. We live in a society in particular full of infomercials, full of hidden agendas. Some of these agendas aren't all that hidden. And yes, I could say the objective for me to be doing this video, displaying my books, talking about me, so I can get more sign-ups. Yeah, that could be my hidden agenda. The human, we always sort of have an alternative motive. Sometimes it's not known even to us. But I do think that everything is a double-edged sword. People need to also take responsibility for themselves. Life is meant to be lived, and that nothing comes easy. If you come across a grifter or someone you think is a grifter, we live in a society where it's very easily to name and shame based on our perceptions too. So we also need to be very careful. I'm not saying anything against Ella, Johanna, or Leah, but I'm not on TikTok. I've got no patience for that. I don't know if they are, if this stem, I think this sort of stemmed from content creators on TikTok. I don't know these three ladies. I don't know what's their underlying observations. I don't know how long they've been on social media and these particular platforms. I suppose I could look and find out for myself. I don't know if their beef or their objective behind this hashtag is because someone else is stealing their thunder, so to speak. I do know, however, that there are a lot of sham artists and con people and charlatans, and it always has been. Back in the day, it makes me sound really, really old, I do know, and she was quite a prolific teacher here in Adelaide. And I know she or someone connected with her attended one of my talks that I was doing. And this is just my perception, within a month, she was doing a workshop very similar to what I was talking about. Now, that's just my perception too. She may have been studying that topic behind the scenes, all I know. Or she might have just opened up a book, read it, read from it. We don't know. We don't know the path someone has walked until we step into their moccasins, to paraphrase an alleged Native American saying. But we do need to take responsibility. Do our own research. Don't trust everything on social media. It's taking responsibility, using your mouth. Stop being so, can I say stupid, blinded by the flash, fancy backgrounds. So because someone looks like a witch doesn't mean that they are. I'm wearing pink today. I didn't normally wear pink, but I'm wearing pink. Witchy colour. Said I was goth. Been there, got a whole wardrobe full of Lady of the Lake, beautiful crushed velvet and lacy sleeves. I can't be bothered with that stuff now because I'm old. Anyway, I'm going to end now because I can go down rabbit holes. I did have some notes here. Yeah, these things, I see things go around in circles. I don't know how long Ella, Johanna, and Leah have been practicing. Or have been in the public arena, but I mean, this is not new. I think the gullibility or the amount or the degree, sorry, the better word, degree of gullibility people have these days has increased. And we see it even outside it. We hear and a lot of it, I wouldn't say driven by social media, but social media is the new platform that people can manipulate. We hear about banks being made to do more to stop people falling into scams, regardless of how many times you've been told that to be careful, don't click on links if the email comes from an unknown email address. If it's your bank or a bank that you don't bank with, don't click on the links. Check the email address, and there's ways of you checking the email address. Most banking institutions, you can ring them up, say hey, or they've got actually notifications on their webpage saying this is a scam. I was going to say ATO. If you're watching this from outside of Australia, you would know what the ATO is. It's the Australian Taxation Office. Don't send you messages via your personal email. We have a pain in the ass website called MyGov that I can never remember my password. I never have my phone near me when I get the message saying you have a message in your MyGov from the Taxation Office, and go, oh God, what have I done now? And I think I have one. I have to go back and have a look, and I can remember my password. I'm old. I write things down. Yeah, we are in a very fast food society. It's great. We have everything at our reach. We have got an overload of information. Need to know everything. Just take one thing and stick to it. Check people. Join some Facebook groups and check out who is recommended. But there is also a danger in that, because especially like with this hashtag, if you are outside of so the popular people, or you live in a different country, or you keep to yourself, doesn't necessarily, mean that you are not knowledgeable. People won't know you. Hey, I've had a book that's been out for like 12 years. People don't know about it. Do I know everything about the Sabbath? No. You know enough to put out a book. I do other stuff that's fun. But it comes down to people taking self-responsibility. And we're in a society where it's just so easy to give that away, which makes me laugh, because in the last couple of years, we've had so much anger, division, fear, unrest, people shouting from the rooftops about, I am, you can't be a lord over me, this is my freedom. Yet, this is what some people are still doing when it comes to these grifters, these online communities. So, it's always been buyer beware. It sounds tough and hard, but hey, this is an introduction to life. Life isn't meant to be easy. Online, definitely, there are scammers out there. Even the most vigilant of us get caught up in scams. Just take a little bit more care and do your own research. Don't trust everything. Even in these videos, even from people that you know or you respect, you follow. Someone said to me once, I don't know if it's within their own tradition or teachings, but there was sort of a line where students were encouraged to test everything, question everything, and then question it again. And it's these basic life skills that I think our society is lacking, and we need to reclaim. Like responsibility, self-responsibility. That's